Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we will cover one of the most basic but important part of MS Excel, cell references, which are practically the building block of any table, data or formula you might be using. Cell references are like addresses in Excel which you can keep as default such as A1, B1 and likewise, or you can also assign names according to your need. You can also lock a particular cell reference when applying in a formula, which prevents your formula from getting distorted when copying and pasting it across the sheet or workbook. There are two types of cell locking. One, relative cell references, which are, as the name suggests, is relative and dynamic in nature. When you copy and paste the cell reference, it moves along with how the formula is going. And two, absolute cell references, which locks the cell addresses and does not move when you move the formula. This becomes very useful when you are working with large data sets or multiple sheets of similar structure. This will make it much more easier and less time consuming. So before we jump on an Excel sheet and see how it works, request you to subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. We will be bringing in more such videos that can help you understand Excel in more detail. In this Excel worksheet, all these individual cells that are assigned a cell reference or address by default, such as A1, B1, C1 and so on. If you go downwards, then it becomes A2, A3, A4 and so on. If you select any particular cell, you can see its reference in this small field on the top left corner of the screen. Through this, also you can make out the cell address or reference. So, like here I've selected this cell, it's showing as B3. If I select this cell, it will show D5, and if I select here, it will show G11. Now let's type in a letter or word in cell A1 and try to work through a formula to refer that cell. So I'll type in hello world in cell A1. In cell E1, I'll type in a formula to refer what is there, that is hello world in cell A1. Let's do that. So type equal to, then I'll refer cell A1, and once I press enter, hello world that is written in E1 will get printed in cell E1. So as you can see, it has done exactly the same thing. We can also add values in two cells like this. So in E1 I'll type in 2, in cell B2 B1 I'll type in 2 again. So the result of that addition should be 4. So let's type in a formula. So equal to A1 plus B1 and press enter, and it will give 4. So if we have values in multiple cells, we can also refer them in a formula. So if you select multiple cells, that is called a range. And by the way, whatever formulas that you are seeing in this video, don't worry, we will be preparing individual videos for them in the near future. So let's type in some values in multiple cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So if I select all these cells, now this is a cell range that is from A1 till A6. Now if you want to add them, you can do them by adding or referring those cells individually like this. So I'll do A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 plus A5 and plus A6. If you press enter, it will give the answer as 21. You can do this by also referring the whole range in the formula. So let's do this, but for that we will be using a formula called sum. So we'll type in sum bracket open, and then we will refer this whole range like this. So A1 colon A6, and then close the bracket, press enter and see it has given the same result. This is useful when you have multiple rows, a lot of rows, and you can need to add all of those rows. We can also assign or give names to a particular cell or a range. By doing this, your dataset would be more organized and it will be easier to refer them and understand the formula in the future. In order to do this, let's select a cell A1 and we will give it a name in the field above. So let's give it a name as my cell 1 and press enter. So now you can see that this name my cell 1 has been assigned to cell A1. But and also do keep in mind that your name should not match to any existing formula, otherwise it will not assign that name. Let's give this next cell B1 a name also. So we'll name it my cell 2. So now let's put in a formula to divide the values in these two cells. So for that, what we'll do, in cell C1 we'll type in equal to my cell 1. Now as you can see, because we had already defined that name, it is now giving me a tooltip where I can easily select that particular cell and it will consider that divided by my cell. So now I'll select the second one and press enter. So right now, because there is nothing in these two fields, so that's why it's giving an error. So let's put in some values over here. So I'll put in 4 and 2. So now the resultant value is coming as 2, that is expected. Now let's see another example where I want to subtract these two values. So say again what we'll do, my cell, I'll type that in rather than selecting it, minus my cell 2. Press enter and again you are seeing the values coming, so it is picking those two values. So say I want to change it to 3. Now the resultant value is coming as 1, right? Good, that's working. Now let's see how cell naming works in ranges. So we will be putting in some values in cells A1 to A5. So let's do that first. Right, so we have given some values in cell A1 to A5. Now let's select all these cells and we'll name it my range 1. Yep, press enter and I've given a name to this particular range. Now let's have a look at some examples of what we can do with this range. So say I want to sum all this up. So if I select all these, you can see in the below the sum is coming as 15. So let's do that with the formula. So I'll type in equal to sum bracket open and I will refer to that range. So my range. So as you can see, it is already popping up 1 and I'll close the bracket. So you can see that in this case, I've not selected these cells. It is already selecting it because I'm referring to that range. And if I press enter, you'll see it has calculated the total. Now let's look at some other examples as well. So maybe what we can do, we can find the maximum value from this range, which we can see it's coming 5, but let's do that with the formula. So I'll type in max bracket open my range 1 bracket close and press enter. So yeah, that is giving it 5. And if we want to find the lowest value, so equal to minimum my range 1 and then press enter. So it is coming as 1. So there are infinite possibilities how you can use these names as for ranges, or if you give names to cells, and it will be very easy of to work with them. say you have given names to your ranges and cells in a workbook or worksheet which you want to alter or edit in the near future. So how you do that? So for that, you need to go into the formulas ribbon and there's a button called name manager. So you go into name manager and here you will see the list of all the names that you have given. So you can see again my cell 1, my cell 2 that has been assigned to cell A1 and B1. You can also see my range 1. So say if you want to edit this range, so say you want to change it from A1 to A2, you can do that by just editing over here and click this green tick. So now you have seen that this has changed, edited it. Now let's close this and see if that has happened. So now if I type in equal to and my cell 1, so see it's now not selecting A1 but rather A2. So it means that the name or the reference has changed. So say if you want to delete that range or delete a name. So for that also you select that appropriate name that you want to delete and click delete from here and it will give you an alert. Click OK and that name will be deleted. Same, you can also edit a range where you want to include another row. Say you want to change it to 6 or you want to reduce it to 4. Again click the green tick and it has changed. So now if we close it, see the maximum is now coming as 4 because that range has changed. So by going into the name manager, you can edit or delete any name you have given to the range or a cell. Now let's talk about the various types of cell references. Now as I mentioned in the video before, there are two types of cell reference. One is the relative cell reference and two is the absolute cell reference. So by default, all your formulas are relative cell references. So what does relative cell reference means? It means that the reference to the cells is dynamic and it will change according to how you move the formula. So move the formula means that you're copying and pasting it anywhere in the worksheet or in the workbook. So it will pick up the range that you have selected in the formula as it is. I mean, it will be relative and dynamic in nature. So let's take an example. So as you can see in this screen, I have input a small data set where I'm adding rows from 2 to 4 in each column. So if I just copy this formula and paste it over, because in this instance, it is adding up all the values in column B, but as soon as I copy and paste it to column C, the formula will get updated and it will now add on all the values in column C. This means that it is dynamic in nature and it is moving with the way I'm moving the formula. So say if I again copy it and paste it in column D, so it is now picking up all the values in column D. So let's just copy this and paste it all across till column G. And you can see that in each column it is referring to that particular column, so respective column, so E, F and G. So this means that this is dynamic in nature. If I copy this and paste it anywhere in this sheet, so you can see that it is now pulling up only those three rows, but now in column L. So that's how the relative cell referencing works. The second type of cell referencing is called absolute cell references. In absolute cell references, we lock a whole cell or a portion of the cell so that whenever you're moving the formula or copying pasting it, that portion of the cell will remain locked. It will not move, but rest of the formula, depending upon how you write the formula, can move. So how you can apply an absolute or how you can lock a particular cell or portion of the cell is with a dollar operator. So for that you can type in shift and 4 and you'll see that dollar operator coming in. So let's take an example. Say I refer to cell B5, but I want to lock column B, but I want to keep my 5 as dynamic. So this refers to a mixed absolute reference. Let's press enter. I can see it's picking up 71. Now if I copy this and paste it in the next column, it will still remain the same because we have locked column B and it is not moving. But what happens if I copy this and move it downwards towards the rows? So now you can see that it has now changed because the row was not locked, only the column was locked. You can do this the other way around as well. So say if I refer to cell B5 and this time I want to lock the row. So now I've put in the dollar operator in front of 5, that is the row number, and if we press enter, now if we move, you'll see that the column is changing now because we had not locked the column. It is dynamic, but when we move it downwards in the rows, now you'll see that it is locked because we had locked the row. So that's how you can lock an individual aspect of a cell. So that is, either you can lock a column or you can lock a row. You can lock a cell in totality as well. So for that, you need to type in the dollar in front of the column B and a dollar in front of the row. So in that way, this whole cell is now locked. So whichever way you move, this will remain the same. So that means that it is now locked in that particular cell. Now, just in this example where I was showing you relative references, let's calculate the cumulative value of all these total. For this, our first cell, that is B5, needs to be locked and the rest of the cells will be dynamic as I copy and paste this formula in the next column. So how I can do that? So equal to sum, let's refer to cell B5 and we will lock this cell by putting in the dollar operators. Now because this will be a range or it will be calculating the sum within a range, so I will put in a semicolon, and don't worry, we will create another video where we'll be concentrating more on the sum formulas, and we will now refer to cell B to C5. Sorry about this, just moved. Yeah, so now you can see I've locked cell B5 and I've kept C5 as a normal dynamic cell. And now let's press enter. Now you can see that it is now calculating the values in cell B5 and cell C5. So that comes to be 169. Now let's copy this formula and paste it in the next cell. So you can see that B5 remains the same because that is locked, but the range has updated to D5 now. So now it is calculating the values in all these three cells. Now if I copy it again, so you will see now it is considering E5, but the starting point B5 remains the same. So likewise, you can see now it has calculated the cumulative value of all these cells. And how we did that? By locking the first cell and keeping rest of the cells as dynamic. So this is one of the example where you can use the absolute cell referencing. There can be a number of ways how you can use this, but I'll leave that to your imagination. You can just give it a try or practice it, see how it works. And if you have any queries on this, do mention that in the comment section and I'll be happy to help you out on that. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new today. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and also don't forget to subscribe our channel. It will mean us a lot, and we will keep posting new videos every week so that it can be beneficial to you. So once again, thank you very much and do visit us again.